Let me tell you about the day a man named Walt sat in his car in a clinic parking lot holding a piece of paper that said everything was normal, while his own body had been telling him a very different story for almost 3 years. By the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why his doctor was right and wrong at the same time. And I want you to grab something, an old blood test, a recent one, anything with your numbers on it, because we're going to read it together, and you're going to see something on it that most men completely miss. Here's the thing nobody explains in that 10-minute appointment. When your doctor looks at your blood work and says, "You're fine," that's normal. He's comparing you to one chart. But your body, especially your body below the belt, is reading a completely different chart, and those two charts do not agree. That gap, the space between clinically normal and biologically fine, is where a lot of men over 60 quietly lose their circulation, their firmness, their morning strength, years before anything shows up as a real diagnosis. So let me show you both charts. Picture the first one. It's the clinical chart. It's built on population averages. Big cutoffs, drawn so a busy clinic can sort people into two boxes, a problem or not a problem. Take fasting blood sugar. The line for "you have a disease" usually sits up around 126. Below that, into the hundreds, they'll call it borderline. And under 100, you get the magic word normal. You go home happy. Now picture the second chart right next to it. This one isn't about disease labels. This is the biological chart. What's actually happening inside the lining of your blood vessels at each of those numbers. And on this chart, there is no clean line. There's no switch that flips from healthy to damaged. It's a gradient, a slow slope. The higher your blood sugar runs, even inside that normal range, the more it scrapes at the delicate inner lining of your vessels, a lining called the endothelium. And honestly, I was skeptical about this when I first read it. I thought, come on, if my number's under the line, how can anything be wrong? But here's what clicked for me, and I want it to click for you. That endothelium is the part of your blood vessels that makes nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the signal that tells a vessel to relax and open up wide so blood can rush through. Firmness, performance, that surge of blood flow where it matters. That's not a mystery, and it's not really about hormones the way most men assume. It's a plumbing event. It's blood flow. It depends on vessels that can open on demand. When blood sugar runs high for years, even quietly, even in that borderline normal zone, it damages the endothelium and it lowers nitric oxide, so the vessels get stiffer and slower to open, less blood gets through, and that's where the trouble down there really begins. Now here's the part most men get wrong, so stay with me because this is the whole point of the video. Why does your body below the belt feel this first? Before your heart, before anything shows on a stress test. Because the vessels that supply performance are small, they're narrow, and the small vessels show damage first, the same way a thin garden hose clogs long before a fire hose ever would. So a soft change in firmness, a weaker morning, less reliable blood flow, that is not just an aging thing to shrug off. It's often the earliest readout you'll ever get of your whole vascular system. It's your small vessels reading the biological chart out loud, while your blood work still reads normal on the clinical one. Your body below the belt is the early warning system. It feels the gradient years before the cutoff catches up. Okay, go grab that blood test now if you haven't. Do this with me. Find your fasting glucose. Find your A1C if it's on there. That's the 3-month average. And don't ask, am I under the line? Ask the better question, where am I on the slope? An A1C of 5.0 is a very different place on that gradient than a 5.9, even though a clinic might wave off both. A fasting glucose of 88 is a different world than 108, same box on the clinical chart, very different reality on the biological one. Go ahead, look right now, I'll wait. So let me finish Walt's story because it makes this real. Walt was 64. For about 3 years, he'd noticed his blood flow down there getting less dependable, slower, softer, his morning strength mostly gone. Every checkup, same words. Blood work's normal. You're fine. It's just age. And he believed it because who argues with normal? But his fasting sugar had been quietly climbing. 96, then 102, then 109. Three numbers a clinic barely blinks at. Three numbers that, on the biological chart, are a steady walk up the slope of vessel damage. His small vessels had been reading that chart the whole time. They were just the first messengers, and nobody was listening. The normal on his paper was true, and it was also hiding the most useful warning his body could possibly give him. And by the way, on the nitric oxide side of this, there's a natural blood flow support I personally like to lean on, things that help the body's own nitric oxide pathway. I left it down in the description if you ever want to look into it. No pressure at all, the rest of this matters more. Because the good news here is genuinely good. A gradient runs both ways. If sliding up the slope quietly damages those vessels, then easing back down the slope gives that endothelium room to recover and make more nitric oxide again. The body wants to heal that lining. So let's talk about the real targets. Not the loose clinical cutoffs, but the numbers worth actually aiming for if blood flow is what you care about. For fasting glucose, instead of celebrating under 126 or even under 100, research suggests the calmer zone is more like the 80s to low 90s. For A1C, instead of just dodging the diabetic label, aiming toward the lower fives tends to sit in a kinder place on that vessel damage slope than the high fives. These aren't magic switches, and I'm not handing you a prescription. I'm pointing at where the slope is gentler. How do you walk it back? Plain, boring, proven things. A real walk after meals, that one move, blunts the blood sugar spike that does the scraping, pulling back on the liquid sugar and the refined stuff that spikes you hardest. Building a little muscle, because muscle pulls sugar out of your blood. Sleep, because bad sleep alone pushes your numbers up. None of that is exciting. All of it changes where you sit on the chart that actually counts. And if you're on medication for your blood sugar, beautiful. Keep taking it. Please do not stop anything on your own based on a video. Talk to your doctor. This works alongside that, not instead of it. So here's where we close the loop we opened. Walt's doctor was right. His labs were normal. And Walt's body was right too. It was on the slope, and it was telling him early. Both charts were true. The man who wins is the one who stops asking only, "Am I over the line?" and starts asking, "Which way am I walking on the slope?" Because the small vessels down there will always tell you first. That's not bad news. That's the earliest, most honest feedback your body will ever hand you, and now you know how to read it. And like I mentioned, if you want to check out the natural blood flow support I use for the nitric oxide side of things, it's down in the description. Totally optional, only if you're curious. Take care of those small vessels, my friend. They're talking to you. Start listening to the right chart, walk yourself a little down that slope, and you'd be surprised what your body can rebuild when you finally give it the message it's been waiting for. Just remember, this is general information to help you ask better questions, not medical advice for your specific situation. Take it to your doctor and take good care of yourself.